Well, welcome everyone. Today we are starting day one of the Pivot to Profitable Entrepreneurship Challenge. And you have the ability to see what happens on day one. But if you want to join us after this, then you have to officially register. So I'm just going to grab you the link to do that. And then we're going to get rolling here. So the Pivot to Profitable Entrepreneurship Challenge really is about figuring out how to level up your mindset, level up your tactics so that you can be profitable, whether you're a brand new entrepreneur or you've been an entrepreneur and you're wanting to do a better job of what you have been doing. So a lot of the times it's not our technical information that is going to make or break our endeavor. It is what is happening between our ears. And so we have to be really cognizant of what we're telling ourselves, how we're setting ourselves up, who we're surrounding ourselves with, as well as the tactics that we're bringing in so that we can ensure our success. What I find is that it is hard for a lot of professionals to be building amazing brands, to be building highly profitable businesses. And part of the reason the difficulty for professionals is to build those profitable entrepreneurship endeavors is perfectionism. You know, we are taught in professional school that you have to behave a certain way, you have to dress a certain way, you have to be a certain way in your life to be successful or to be a professional. And so what happens is we kind of put up this barrier that isn't real. Instead of actually being ourselves and letting people see who we are and seeing, you know, what kind of a genius we actually are, what happens is we tend to put up this facade. And when people see this facade, they feel the facade, they know that something isn't quite right. And so they aren't going to trust you. They're not going to believe that what you're saying is fully the truth because they can feel that something is kind of off. Also, highly accomplished professionals tend to give in to the shoulds. So what happens is we are giving into what other people are telling us. And especially if you are pivoting into something new or you're pivoting out of a nice, comfy job with someone else and you're going out on your own, you're going to have people question, what the heck are you doing? You should stay on this path. You've put in so much effort. You should keep going in this direction that you're going. Why would you leave your comfy job with the security of insurance and, you know, someone is willing to pay you to just show up and do your work? Why would you leave that? You should stay there. And so we tend to, especially when we're a little bit scared, we start to give into other people's shoulds and we let people should all over us. And that is a great way to stop you from becoming an entrepreneur and stopping you from being on your endeavor, period. Another thing that stops us from having profitable entrepreneurial endeavors is lack of support in our new endeavor. So people like to see who we are and keep us exactly where we've been, right? It's comfortable for people to know that this is the person that they've been used to, and that's the person they're going to keep seeing. But as you start to develop into a higher level person, and by the end of this week, you are going to experience some transformation. And people are going to notice that you're a little bit different. And that is uncomfortable for other people. It's going to be uncomfortable for you too, but it's going to be even more uncomfortable for other people to see that you are transforming. And so there's going to be lack of support because they want to keep you exactly where you are. And it's not because they're being malicious. There's no nefarious intent there. It's just their own discomfort gets projected on you and they start to not be supportive in the way that you've probably been expecting them to be. Another thing that happens is professionals tend to think that to be able to be successful, they have to get a whole bunch of new certifications for this new endeavor. What I teach people to do is package what you've already got. Take your experience, take your expertise, and leverage it. You don't need to go and take a whole bunch of new courses. You don't need to go and get a PhD. You don't need to go and get an MBA. You can take what you've already got and leverage that to start changing the world with what you know. And the last part that tends to stop highly accomplished professionals from pivoting to profitable entrepreneurship is they never fully own their genius. And part of that is our training, right? We are trained to be a Jack or Jill of all trades. We're trained in all these different skills. And so for us to leave some of our skills on the table and just fully niche into what we do best is scary. But it is what will catalyze your endeavor from being a starting point to being something that you can scale to high profitability, high love for the work that you're doing as well. Profitable entrepreneurship requires a new mindset, especially for professionals. We have to get out of what we were trained to think like in university, where there's only a certain ceiling that we can get to. We have to climb the corporate ladder. We have to do all these things right to get to where we want to go. Becoming an entrepreneur means stepping outside of the box of what we learned in university. It means stepping outside the box of what we have been doing as a professional and start thinking about things differently. And you are going to be stretched this week. Your mindset is going to be questioned by me and by yourself. And that is a good thing. You're going to find that you're going to look at your work differently by the end of this week. You're going to look at yourself differently. You're going to look at your circle differently. You're going to look at your future differently as well. So what we're going to be doing this week is we are going to be acknowledging your dream life. What does it actually look like? How different is it from the life that you're currently living? How are you going to transform your credibility, which is today's topic? How are you going to own your genius without being narcissistic in the marketplace? How are you going to attract ideal clients who need and want what you've got to offer and are willing to pay you for the genius that you bring to the marketplace? How do you leverage your pivot blueprint so that you set yourself up for success and set the milestones up that are going to allow you to be profitable, as well as avoiding failure to launch? And that one is a tricky one. You can have all the best intentions in the world and still fail to launch because something happens that you get a little bit scared. You hit a roadblock, and so you go running back to where you were before. So we're going to talk quite deeply on Friday about how to avoid failure to launch so that you set yourself up for having the best chance of pivoting successfully to this profitable endeavor while also being able to scale it to the level that you want to support the dream life that we're going to talk about next. What I want for you is that you can do the work that you love. That you can do that work that you love with clients that you love while you earn more, while you work far less, and unleash massive influence in the world. The only kind of professionals that I work with are ones who are trying to have influence in the world, who are trying to create an impact, who are trying to create a legacy of change because of taking their experience, their path that they've taken, and be able to share that with the world to help other people have an easier time. And when you have that passion-centered endeavor, it makes it easy to get up out of bed and go to work. It makes it easy to want to create change for people. It makes it easy to go through sometimes a little bit harder times to get to the other side where you know you're going to have that impact because you have set that goal. You know what it looks like. You know how it's going to make you feel. You know how it's going to make other people feel. And this is what I want for you. Now, most people are stuck in misery. And what I'd love for you to do right now is close your eyes, unless you're driving. Don't close your eyes if you're driving. But if you are in a safe space where you can close your eyes, I would love for you to close your eyes. And what I want you to do is picture the parts of your life that you love. The parts that give you joy, the parts that give you energy, the parts that make you excited to get out of bed every day. Can you see them? What does it feel like as you visualize that? Can you smell it? Can you hear it? Can you even taste it? Now, I want you to picture the parts of your life that you hate. The ones that make you want to quit. The ones that make you wonder, why am I fighting so hard? The ones that make you go, is this even worth it? And I'd like you to picture the parts of your life that you hate in a pile. And I'd like you to visualize yourself striking a match, throwing it over your shoulder, and lighting that pile of those hateful things that you have to do on fire and burning them to the ground. Now, I know that may sound a little bit extreme. You can open your eyes. But I am known as the arsonist. And my job is to help you to burn away the things that aren't working. Keeping the parts of your life that aren't working is a choice. Burning away the parts of your life that aren't working is a choice. Everything that you do is a choice. And what we're going to look at is how to actually design your life, design your work so that you are living your best life, making the money that you want, creating the impact that you want. So I'm going to tell you about how I became the arsonist, because it's going to show you how much choice you actually have in your world. So it all started after a long entrepreneurial week. I'm laying in bed with a boyfriend who has been a little bit judgy about my workload. I currently have 2 full-blown companies and I'm building my 3rd startup. And he rolls over and kisses me on the forehead and asks me a question that changes my life. And he asked me this: Ange, what does your dream life look like? Ange, what does your dream life look like? Ugh. I can't believe he's asking me at this point, because I know where it's coming from. He thinks I'm working too hard. He thinks it's going to negatively affect him, and I'm feeling judged. But I decide to play along. Okay, so what does my dream life look like? Well, my dream life looks like waking up in a tropical country, feeling the humidity on my skin, smelling tropical flowers in the air, and seeing palm trees outside my window. My dream life looks like getting on a motorcycle and surfing at sunrise. My dream life looks like coming back and having a beautiful meal across from a beautiful man, and then going to work for 3-4 hours a day, working with highly accomplished professionals who are trying to change the world with what they know. And then when my day is done, I get to enjoy the tropics. I get to enjoy sunset dinners with friends in beautiful places, watch beautiful sunsets every night. And when I finally get to go to bed, I lay back and realize I'm exactly where I'm meant to be, doing exactly what I'm meant to do with my life. That's what my dream life looks like. Now, it's funny because as this comes out of my mouth, I'm thinking, this is not at all what my life looks like right now. I was in Calgary at that time. I was working 100 hours a week. I was clearly addicted to serial entrepreneurship, and I loved it. People thought I was badass. I thought I was a badass. I was kicking ass and taking numbers. I was driving really hard. I was making a big difference across 3 different companies. They were all growing at exponential rates. So where did this dream life that I just described come from? I had no idea. But that boyfriend came and went. But that question he asked me of what does your dream life look like drilled into my brain. Night after night, I would wake up in the middle of the night, scratching my dry, itchy, wintry skin, thinking, what am I doing all this for? Why am I living in a city that I don't really like? The weather is crap most of the year. I have pain in my body from the cold. I'm surrounded by people who are encouraging me to be a martyr for my business. And I'd rather be living that beach life. That question changed my life because it helped me to open my eyes to the fact that other people were doing things that I was telling myself, well, I can't do that. I should stay doing with what I've been doing. I should stay living in the city that I'm living in because it's fairly safe. I should stay in the work that I'm doing because I make good money. I make massive impact. I am a very hard worker. I'm able to accomplish whatever I want to accomplish. So why should I change? But I started looking around and seeing what other people were doing that I admired and started to think, well, if they can do it, I can do it. Because the reason I was at the place that I was at, addicted to entrepreneurship, working 100 hours a week, running 3 companies, living in a city that I hated, was a sum of my choices. So if I wanted that tropical dream life, my hypothesis was, well, if I make different choices, I can have a different life. So I started taking radical responsibility for the choices that I had made and started moving myself to the life that I wanted. And over a short period of time after that conversation, I sold one of my businesses. I sold my house. I sold everything that I owned, packed everything up and put it in a storage unit, anything that was left, and bought a one-way ticket to Nicaragua. And the next morning, I woke up feeling the humidity on my skin, smelling tropical flowers in the air, and seeing palm trees outside my window. I have made a choice that I don't want to live a life of regret. And yet most people on their deathbed wish they'd lived a life true to themselves. They wish they had made different choices. They'd wish they'd married someone else. They'd wish they had picked a different profession. They wish that, they were living in a different place, living a simpler life or a more complicated life. They wish they had something different than what they had. But they chose most of that because they were listening to other people's shoulds. They felt pressure culturally. They felt pressure from their family. They felt pressure from their colleagues. They felt pressure from society to live a life that was compromised. But that doesn't have to be you. So let's play a game. Again, if you're in a safe place, I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to envision your dream life. Now, this dream life has nothing to do with your current life. This dream life is based on what you know now and how you would make different choices. So if you could burn down the life that you have right now and rebuild it based on knowing what you know now about what you would actually want, this is what I want you to visualize. So I want you to close your eyes and picture in your dream life, where would you be waking up? What would the sheets feel like on your skin? In your dream life, what would the room look like that you're waking up in? Who would you be waking up beside in your dream life? As you roll out of bed, put your feet on the floor, what does the floor feel like in your dream life? What does the air feel like in that? Where does the air smell like in that room? As you go to the kitchen in your dream house and you put your hands on the kitchen counter and run your fingers over top of it, what does it feel like? As you sit down to breakfast, what are you eating in your dream life? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like in your mouth? Who are you sitting across from as you enjoy your breakfast in your dream life? After you've finished your morning routine in your dream life, where are you going to work? Are you working from home? Are you traveling to work? How are you getting there? Are you walking? Are you flying? Are you riding a motorcycle? When you get to your work in your dream life, who are you working with? Do you have a team? How do they make you feel when they greet you in the morning? What kind of clients are you working with in your dream life? How do they make you feel? Are you excited to see them? Are you passionate? Are you feeling innovative? What emotions do they make you feel when you think about the clients that you would love to be working with in your dream life? How many hours a day are you working in your dream life? How much money are you making per day in your dream life? Now, as your workday finishes up and you head back home or wherever you're going to go spend your time after work, you just happen to check your bank balance on your phone. How much money is sitting in your bank account in your dream life? As you head into the evening, who are you spending your time with in your dream life? What are you doing with those people or maybe you're spending it by yourself. And when the day finally finishes and you crawl back into bed, what is the last thing you think before you drift off into a deep slumber? Now, I'd like you to open your eyes, and I'd like you to think, and if you feel like it, weigh in the comments about how your dream life compares to your current life. What do you need to add to achieve your dream life? What do you need to subtract to achieve your dream life? Maybe it's less working hours. Maybe it's pivoting to specializing in something else. Maybe it's moving to a different location. Maybe it's working more efficiently, having way more time off. But I'd like you to spend some time thinking about what your dream life looks like compared to your current life. And if you're not a 10 out of 10, and most people are not, then I want you to think about the things that you can start doing to get to your dream life, personally as well as professionally. Now, when I moved to Nicaragua, I thought I had made some big moves. I had burned down my life in Canada. I sold off one of my companies. I sold off my house. I sold off the majority of my possessions. I cut ties. I took off without really anyone knowing that I was leaving because we were in the middle of a pandemic. We weren't allowed to talk to each other. It was January 2021. And so I thought landing in a new country was going to give me a new beginning. I was going to start living my dream life. And at first I felt like I was. But 3 months into moving to Nicaragua, I started waking up in the middle of the night in a sweat of panic, thinking that I had forgotten something or that my team had forgotten something. And it was happening night after night. And I was back to working 100 hours a week. I was back to being obsessed with my businesses. I was back to being addicted to serial entrepreneurship. So moving countries didn't change anything. I was still me. And instead of feeling like a badass, I started to feel like I was drowning in my own ambition. And it didn't feel good. I started to realize that the bonfire I thought I had created was not enough. And what I had done was get rid of a bunch of stuff and then just built more stuff in its place. Because I hadn't changed my behaviors. I hadn't become more intentional. All I had done was get rid of some stuff and then had extra time on my plate and filled that time up with more stuff. And it wasn't working for me anymore. I was starting to worry that I was going to have health issues because of the stress that I was under. It no longer felt like an adrenaline rush. It felt like a health drain. And I knew things needed to change. And part of the reason things hadn't changed is because I could always see opportunities. I could see opportunities for building more stuff out in my business. I could see opportunities for starting another business. And that is the gift and also the bane of entrepreneurship. If you're an entrepreneur, you can see a possibility, you can see it through to the end, and you can make it happen. That's opportunity distraction. But if you're going to get successful, if you are going to get streamlined so that you can live a simplified life, build a simplified business that is effective and influential, you have to burn away those opportunity distractions and get clear. You have to put on those blinders and go, this is what I'm going all in on. And we're going to talk about this. What I really wanted to do was I wanted to have one company. I no longer want to be straddling all these different companies with all these different employees. I wanted one company. I wanted to have one offer, and I wanted to take that offer to $1 million. And I knew it was all a choice. Being pulled in so many different directions was a choice. It was an old habit that I was repeating. So I knew if I could get out of that old habit, I could make new choices that would get me to exactly where I wanted to be. So to figure out how I could have just one company with one offer that would get me to $1 million, I decided I needed to figure out what people were willing to pay me for and piece together the best of what I could do into one company and one offer. So I took a bunch of sticky notes I had these bright yellow ones and I had some bright pink ones. And on every single sticky note, I wrote a single skill that I had that people had previously paid me for, or that I knew they were requesting for me to be paid for. And I stuck all these different sticky notes on a 3-foot by 2-foot whiteboard. I had a lot of skills because I'd been a dentist, I'd been a business coach, I'd been a professional dancer, I had run a full-blown social media agency, I was a LinkedIn expert, I had lots of different things that I could do. So all these skills were laid out in these fluorescent sticky notes. And I sat back and went, well, that's not very helpful. And I decided I'd go for a run, see how my head felt afterwards. Went for a run, came back and was like, God, this is still too much for me. So I went to bed. Woke up the next morning with these bright sticky notes staring me down because the whiteboard was at the end of my bed. And I was like, there's got to be a reason I was inspired to do this. So what I did was try to figure out the pattern of what I had created. And I started ordering the sticky notes. So all the things that I loved to do, I put in one corner. All the things that I hated to do, I restuck to the board in another corner. And then I took the stuff that I loved and started ordering it from most loved to least loved. And what came out in the wash was my niche of genius. And our niche of genius usually isn't just one skill. It's a combination of skills. And this is what came out for me. The 3 things I was amazing at doing were cracking clients open. Someone can come to me and say, I want to pivot to profitable entrepreneurship, and I don't even know what my offer should look like. I don't know what my business should look like. Can you help me? So in a 3-hour period, I can crack someone open, figure out what their brand is, figure out what their offer is going to be, figure out how to market them, and get them off to the races. The second thing I'm amazing at is helping people to start intentional burning away of what isn't working or what they shouldn't be doing, so that they are not scared to start removing the pieces that are not necessary to get them to where they want to go. The third thing I'm really great at is helping people to own their niche of genius, which you think would be the easy thing. But for someone to go from being a broad professional to narrowing down to specifically what they do best and fully stepping into that identity and only showing that identity to the world is really scary. But I'm good at holding people's hands and getting them brave enough to do with that. So what this really came down to is I'm amazing at helping highly accomplished professionals to pivot to profitable entrepreneurship, leveraging these 3 skills. So what I did was I started a bonfire. Those 3 skills I stuck on my board, and those were the 3 things I was allowed to say yes to. Anything that was requested from me on a discovery call outside of that was farmed out to someone else. So I started burning away the parts of my day that were not in my zone of genius. And that was a lot of my day. It was 95% of my day. So I was starting to spend all my day in that 5% that I was a genius at. And that was terrifying because, I felt like I was leaving skills on the table. I had a lot of skills because of all the trainings that I had in disparate areas. I had a lot of skills because of different passions that I had. But I needed to get focused. I wanted to get highly intentional so that I could get to exactly where I want to go as fast as I want to get. One company, one offer to $1 million. So I started burning things away, started saying no to the things that weren't within that realm. And I'd like you to do the same. So let's start figuring out what your niche of genius is. You know what your dream life looks like. You know how you want your day to look. You know where you want to be living. You know who you want to be spending your time with. You know how much money you want to be making. And I promise you, if you can get narrowed in on what you are a genius at and spend all your time on that and get rid of that 95% of your day that is outside that niche genius, then you are going to be able to get profitable fast. You're going to be able to do the work you love with clients that you love and unleash way more impact in the world. So an exercise I want you to do is figure out, what are people willing to pay you for? If you have little sticky notes, write a skill on your sticky notes, 1 skill per sticky note, and just do a brain dump. Write them all out, put them somewhere that you can reorganize them. So whether it's on a table, it's on a sticky board, it's on a wall. Sticky notes are nice, they don't take the paint off. And let it sit for the night and then come back to it tomorrow. And what I want you to do is figure out what your top 3 skills are. So those top 3 skills are either the top 3 skills that you love most. They could be the top 3 skills that you're unfairly talented at, the top 3 skills that you are most genius at. But I want you to pick the top 3 skills that if you could only say yes, and it's not going to be if you could only, you will only say yes to these for the next 5 years. Would you be satisfied with that? And I know limiting yourself to your top 3 things that make up your genius is scary. And it might seem like you're going to get bored. I promise you, when you get narrowed into just what you're a genius at, the more you know, the more you're going to realize you don't know. So if you can get narrow and go deep, what's going to happen is not only are you going to become an expert in your industry, you are going to eliminate all your competition, because no one is going to be able to do what you're doing, because no one has the same experience. No one has the same expertise. No one has the same passion. No one has the same personality that they're going to bring to the brand that you're going to be creating. You're going to become an industry of one. And when you do that, the clients that you work best with, the clients who need what you've got the most, who identify with you as the person who has been there and done that and can help them get to where they want to go, will start showing up. And it's scary waiting for them to show up, I promise. But I really want you to do this exercise, because I know what will happen is you're going to start seeing things differently. And I do suggest you put the sticky notes up, put the 3 things that are your top 3 skills of genius, and start practicing saying no. And then I want you to start a bonfire. Now, it doesn't have to be as extreme as mine. I'm pretty good at just saying, okay, things need to change. Everything changes now. You may have to start your change a little bit more slowly, but I want you to start making those changes. Figure out the parts that do not belong to what you know you are meant to be doing, that don't belong in the dream life that you want to be living, that don't belong in the impact, the influence that you want to create in the world. And what will emerge is a simple, effective, and influential endeavor. That's what happened for me. So by the time I sold off my business coaching company for dentists, I sold off the agency part of Unleashing Influence and just focused in on what I did best, which was helping highly accomplished professionals to pivot to profitable entrepreneurship by burning away everything that was in their way. I created a simple, effective, and influential company. Now, it took 3 months from the last burn. So by the time I divested my last company, there was about a 3-month lull where I was sitting there going, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going to happen. Did I make the right decision? Did I just shoot myself in the foot? Did I burn everything down and now I can't come back from it? 3 months after, what happened was I started having people contacting me on LinkedIn. My ideal clients, my dream clients, the ones that I would have killed to work with years ago. And they were coming to me saying, I've heard what you can do for people, and I want you to do that for me. 3 months after my final burn, what happened that made me realize, okay, everything is going to be okay, is I opened my bank account and I saw a deposit from one client who had paid me in full to start working with her. And the amount of the deposit was more than I would have made in a month working full-time as a dentist. And I was able to breathe a sigh of relief. I knew that everything was going to be okay, because I know once you get that one, then more start coming. And it started to snowball, as it does. And I started having more and more people coming to me asking for me to help them to pivot to profitable entrepreneurship, to help them to build their personal brands on LinkedIn, to help them to design a business that was highly influential, simple, and effective. And I started to go, oh my gosh, I'm headed back down the path of working 100 hours a week and being addicted to entrepreneurship and being addicted to work and letting the rest of my life go. And I didn't want that. I've already been through that. I changed countries and went back to that. Now I want to be highly intentional to stay on the path of being simple, effective, and influential. So I started to look at what I was doing. I sat back and went, okay, these clients that I'm talking to, I'm telling them often the same things multiple times a week across different clients. I was also noticing that a lot of them felt extremely alone. They felt good when they were hanging out with me and I was coaching them, but then they would go off back into their world and not feel supported. They felt like they were being judged. People were shitting all over them. And so they felt very alone. I also noticed that these were highly accomplished, kick-ass people. I had people who had 40 years in their industry, came from C-suite executives in big companies, who had so much experience to share with other people. And so I realized, I don't need to be doing this one-on-one and getting back to burning myself out. What I could do was start bringing these really geniuses together and get them in a room and teach them at the same time, give them the foundational information, give them the community that they needed to feel supported, give them the mindset training that they needed to elevate themselves, as well as bring them together to share their experiences and their expertise. And so what came out of making the decision to go from one-on-one to group was the Pivot Accelerator. This is a 90-day program that has allowed me to get my clients accomplishing 2 years worth of work in 90 days while feeling supported, while having community, while sharing their brilliance with each other. And it changed my life. My hourly rate going from one-on-one work to my first group cohort, I 6 times my hourly rate. Now, my hourly rate is at 17 times what it originally was when I was working one-on-one. I'm able to work 12 hours a week, create massive impact, bring amazing people together, and create influence in their world so that they can create influence in other people's worlds. So there's a massive ripple effect of people creating impact. And what I teach is the Pivot to Profitable Entrepreneurship Blueprint, which is what we're going to be going through over the next 4 days of the challenge. Part of it is acknowledging your dream life, which you did today. And I don't want you to let that visualization that we did today, don't let it go. I want you to write it down. I want you to go back through it again tomorrow morning when you wake up. I'd like you to go back through it tonight before you go to sleep and just realize that everything that you want is completely possible. I want you to be able to transform your credibility, figure out what your niche of genius is. What are those top 3 skills? And then how can you package those, which we're going to go over tomorrow, so that you can transform your credibility in the marketplace without having to reinvent what you're doing, without having to go and binge on getting new credentials. You can transform your credibility with exactly what you've got. I want you to own your genius. I want you to make that part of your identity that you're very comfortable with. So even while you're getting shitted all over by other people, I want you to be able to defend yourself. And not even defend yourself, it's just this quiet knowing that you are doing exactly what you're meant to do with your life, working with exactly who you're meant to be working with, earning the kind of income that you want, working the kind of hours that you want while creating that impact in the world. We're also going to work on attracting your ideal clients this week so that the people who show up on your schedule are people that you are excited to work with. You're going to learn how to craft your limelight so that you get to have the right people see what you're doing. And we're also going to look at avoiding failure to launch, because you can have all the tools in the world, but if you don't have the right mindset, if you don't have the right support system, if you don't have the right discipline in your day, then you can invest a ton of money in a pivot and fail because you never actually get it going. And this will allow you to do the work that you love with clients that you love while earning more, working less, and unleashing massive influence in the world. So this is day 1 of the Pivot to Profitable Entrepreneurship Challenge. And your homework for today is this. I want you to write out your dream life. Write out what it smells like, what it tastes like, what it feels like, what it looks like. I want you to define what your top 3 skills of genius are. So do the sticky note exercise, Write out all your skills on singular sticky notes and then order them from most loved to most hated, and then figure out what those top 3 skills are that if you could only do those for the next 5 days, next 5 years, would you be happy with that? Can you get narrow and go deep into your niche of genius so that you can create more impact in the world? And I want you to acknowledge your credibility publicly, not out of narcissism, but actually owning what you are extremely talented at, what you are a genius at, what you are credible at because of the experience, the expertise, the passion that you have for what you're doing in your industry. I'd also like you to write your letter to self, and I'll throw that link to be able to do that in the chat box. And I will also like you to do the mindset questionnaire. The mindset questionnaire is quite revealing as to where your head is at with your endeavor. And when you do this, it's going to take a little bit of time, but it is going to help you to start seeing your patterns of what is and is not working for you and what you maybe want to do about it. So I would love to hear, what is the thing that you are going to do today to start moving yourself towards your dream life? Just one thing. Pick one thing. And write it in the chat box. And if you're not on here live with us, if you're watching this after, write it out as well, because there's something that happens when we start acknowledging things publicly. We start actually going, oh, shoot, there's a little bit of accountability here because we've actually put it out there publicly. So it's important to actually start putting that information out there so that even if no one acknowledges that you wrote it, you have put it out there to the world and you've claimed it. If you have not officially registered for the LinkedIn Level Up or for the Pivot to Profitable Entrepreneurship Challenge, here is the link to actually get in on it. Today is the only day that this is publicly done. The rest of the week is in a private Zoom room because we're going to have some pretty deep conversations, some vulnerable conversations about where you want to go, how we're going to get there. And so you do have to officially register to get in on that. If you want to get the workbook, you have to officially register. There's prizes. There's lots of great things that come with registration. Registration is $97, and I promise you it is worth it. If you finish the challenge and you got no value out of it and you paid your $97, I will give you your $97 back if you did all your work and you got no value. But I haven't had to give a refund yet. So I imagine that you won't ask me for that either. But if you're really trying to create change in your world right now and you want to pivot to profitable entrepreneurship, this challenge will set you up for success on a level that you probably haven't experienced before. So on that note, I'm going to end our session. And for those of you who are officially registered, I will see you in our private Zoom room tomorrow. For those of you who really want to get in on the good stuff for the rest of the week, make sure you register, and I will see you all tomorrow. Enjoy your day and take care. Bye for now.